29 past the hour, the Gaza Health Ministry says more than 100 people were killed while waiting for aid. It happened yesterday morning in the northern part of the enclave where trucks rarely enter. Gaza health officials say dozens of people with gunshot wounds were brought to the hospital, but Israeli defense forces say the civilians died in a stampede after thousands of people crowded the aid trucks and tried to loot them. Officials released this video yesterday showing that large crowd. The military did admit it opened fire at the other end of the convoy when it says a group approached Israeli forces in a threatening manner. But officials say there were no casualties from that. NBC News has not been able to independently verify the death toll or circumstances surrounding the incident. Meanwhile, President Biden told reporters yesterday the U.S. is looking into the violence. This as ceasefire negotiations are still going on between Israel and Hamas. Take a listen.
Do you still expect a ceasefire on Monday, sir?
Hope springs eternal. I was on the telephone with the people in the region. I'm still, probably not by Monday, but I'm hopeful.
Like the cities were civilians were killed.
We're checking that out right now. There's two competing versions of what happened. I don't have an answer yet.
Are you worried that it will complicate these negotiations?
I know it will.
All right. What do you make of how President Biden is handling this? What do you think is going on here, ultimately?
Well, I mean, he's doing what he needs to do. I think a lot of people in the region and likewise, I think a lot of people in the states really agree with him and agree what he's told people close to him, that it's time to take a break, a public break from Bibi Netanyahu to support the people of Israel, support their right to defend themselves, support their right to protect their children and their families from Hamas.
The people of Israel are pretty frustrated themselves.
They are, but to break from Bibi Netanyahu, because regardless, Admiral, regardless of what happened yesterday, obviously shooting into a crowd would be much worse, and we don't know whether the Gaza Health Ministry run by Hamas, we don't know how accurate their counts are because, they are run by Hamas. We don't know how accurate claims from the Israeli army are either. They're our allies, but you've dealt with them in a time of war and understand that as well. But it seems to me, Admiral, whether it was gunfire, which would just be heinous, or whether it was Palestinians so hungry and so desperate for food because of the situation that they literally trampled each other to get food for their families. Yeah. This is one more devastating blow to Israel's reputation across the globe. And this is, for the life of me, what I don't understand why every supporter of Israel, like I'm a supporter of Israel, why they don't understand that the scenes that are unfolding in Gaza are a generational nightmare for Israel across the world and are a very, very immediate human tragedy for the people of Gaza. This has to end. This has to end.
Indeed. And let's start by just understanding what it would feel like to be a parent or a grandparent, as I am, with desperately hungry children. 2.2 million people, half of them under the age of 18. So, yeah, there are going to be these horrific scenes like this. And again, we need to understand the level of crisis that's unfolding in front of our eyes. One of my great life mentors was Colin Powell, and among many other wise things he would say is, it's the Pottery Barn rule. You break it, you own it. In other words, military 101 is if you invade and you subjugate an area, you are now responsible for the food, the medicine, for the care of the civilians. That's bedrock for any military force. So for those of us who have served and remember going into Iraq, remember going into Afghanistan, you own that civilian population for maintaining it, for its care, its feeding, its medicine. So Israel, you are correct, Joe, is suffering immense reputational damage, and even military officers like me are just kind of shaking our heads at this. It has got to stop. And to conclude on this, within that war cabinet that Bibi Netanyahu has put together are some very steady hands, notably former chief of the Israeli Defense Force, Benny Gantz. And they know better. They know this has got to conclude in a way that permits succor to these families. So this is headed in the wrong direction for Israel.
It's horrific for Israel. You look at what's happening in the United States. We've talked about this. The majority of younger Americans, 30 and under, have openly hostile views of Israel and are supportive of the Palestinian cause right now. It's gotten much, much worse as this has continued. You look at our allies in Europe, and I will say right now, most importantly, you look at the Arab nations that surround Israel, that used to invade Israel and now want to become Israel's allies. I stay in touch with leaders from those countries, from diplomats from those countries, and they're all saying the same thing. And they've been saying it over the past month. You have to help Israel get past this because we want to come in and help the Palestinians. And let's just say, for the first time in a long time, because the Palestinians are despised by Arab nations. They just are. They just are. And they've been abandoned by Arab nations for years now. But these Arab nations, our allies, Israel's allies, want to come in, rebuild Gaza, help the Palestinian people. But they tell me, we're running out of time. This has to stop or they can't come in.
Yeah, I'm hearing exactly the same thing from very senior people across the region. And the tragedy of this, when we were talking earlier with Mike Barnacle about the center holding here, this is where the United States could really step up and bring together all of the parties. You know, we ought to be celebrating right now the alignment of Israel and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That was in the works before the events of 7 October. Instead, we see the scenes you're playing right now. We see the malevolence of Iran maneuvering throughout the entire region. The winner in all of this is the Iranian theocracy, that rotten set of mullahs in Tehran who are reveling in all of this. Now is more than ever the moment for the United States to bring these parties together. And what's in the way, Joe? It's Bibi Netanyahu. It is really time to cut the deal here.
And make no mistake of it, Mika. The mullahs in Iran could not be happier with what's happening right now in Gaza. The Israelis playing right into their hands, playing right into Hamas's hands, playing right into Hezbollah's hands. The cost, again, increasingly high, not just for the Gazan people, but for the future of Israel.
All right, let's continue that with our next guest, retired 4-star Navy Admiral James Stavridis. Thank you very much. And